This episode of On the Limb podcast with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Webb Plumbing Incorporated, located at 6202 McCorkle Avenue, St. Albans, West Virginia. Webb Plumbing Incorporated has had master plumbers and HVAC specialists established and serving the Knoll Valley since 1994. 30 years of commercial and residential service that you can trust. Contact Webb Plumbing today at 304-768-4324 for a free estimate or quote today. You can also visit them on the web at webbplumbing.net. Contact Webb Plumbing Incorporated today at 304-768-4324.
Right, so giveaways. I'll go ahead and let you just make the big announcement, and we're going to start off with the giveaway number one.
All right, just real quick, I've got to include my wife on this. We are a small mom and pop business, and our mission statement is keeping kids in the outdoors, and this is very important to us in any way, shape, or form. Now our parents are a little bit older. It's keeping old folks, everybody in the woods.
That's right, keeping them all in the woods.
So, I'm pretty proud of what we're doing here because we do run off a shoestring budget.
So I am a part of an organization called the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. It's a national organization, and we are part of the West Virginia chapter. The West Virginia chapter does pint nights and other events like Trash and Trout all over the state. And we're here in Charleston, just as you said, for the fishing and hunting show. So we've got a booth this weekend at the fishing and hunting show. And we are here trying to get people to be involved in our organization. So getting people to sign up. And it's just really good to talk to people about the things that we care about, which is conservation and, keeping our wild lands wild.
Yes, definitely.
Then up to pipe stem. Then I served a short stint as the deputy chief of parks. And then this opportunity for director presented. And I couldn't pass it up. I mean, this is such a great agency as a whole. We've got so many good people. The support that we get from our governor, I'm just astounded by his interest in DNR. I feel like we're the lead agency in the state, and I don't want to make others jealous, but, man, it's good.
Sure. Maple cotton candy.
Never heard of it.
Made out of real maple sugar.
This is something that you can't find at any carnival, in my opinion. I don't know. I've never had it until I had it with you.
I was going to say I've never heard of it.
Make your tongue slap your brains out. I'm telling you.
Oh, man.
And when I tried that, I was like, I've got to try this syrup.
Yeah.
For quality of water, whether or not that river has a lot of public access or there's a lot of natural reproduction, a lot of stocking, that's how we kind of classify them out into 4 tiers. And it's a really long process. I think it took us start to finish about 4 years to get the lower 48 done, but it's been really rewarding, really cool to see how people are putting it to use.
Well, we got to give a big shout out to Dennis Lewis with Obsession Bows. I mean, I've told the story before. I can shoot any bow I want to, and I shot a bunch of them. And there's some great bows out there.
Yeah.
But once I put that Obsession in my hand and pulled it back and let that arrow, sling that arrow down range, I ain't ever gone back. And
yeah, I know.
And I don't mean to. It just is what it is. To each their own. But when Jackson went with me, we started going to the ATA shows because I do some work with those folks out there.
Yeah.
And I told Jackson he was wanting to get into bow hunting, and so I said, let's find you a bow. And
for the love of the dogs and seeing how they work and being able to see it all come together is what does it for me. I mean, it's a different style of hunting. I mean, it's more camaraderie than it is actual stalking and calling and this and that. I mean, it's its own hunt.
Okay.
It's not like anything you would ever do.
So, all right, back with Kelly and Rochelle with West Virginia Fishing, Hunting, and Outdoor Sports.
I do have a mention. When they come down to get their mouth calls, they've got to stop over at Hunter's Choice Specialties and get them some trout dip.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have had that before. Yeah. If you've had samples of their food,
you can ask Kelly. Like, I am most excited about getting that cold trout.
Yeah,
it is the best thing ever.
That's like our lunch there. Yeah. He brings us over a fillet while we're there, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
oh, it's amazing. Yeah. I'm like a little cracker, a little cream cheese, a little hot sauce.
Yes. You got that right, man. You got me hungry
food,
now.
Can you tell? I got all excited.
We do too. Don't worry.
I mean, we got a shout out with our buddies there. We've had good times with them, and I'm gonna miss them. So
yep.
Greg and George, you're going to have to store me something till I get back.
So we were talking there before the podcast, but it all goes to good cause.
It does.
And tell us about the causes that you want that money to go towards with your chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. So ultimately, all the money goes for wetland conservation and waterfowl conservation that's raised at Ducks Unlimited banquets. And that's where I wanted to go towards. When I started researching immediately when I got into Ducks Unlimited. I started researching. I realized that, wetland conservation is one of the most important conservationists out there, because if you ain't got water, you don't got food, you don't got shelter, and it impacts 900 different species out there. And so I wanted to kind of do the biggest impact.
Can you list those for us?
All 900. Don't miss
In
one.
alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Well, we started Dead End Game Calls in 2011. I won the NWTF Grand National Turkey Calling Championship. My first Grand National Championship in 2010. I'd won the World Friction Championship in 2009, and then we just kind of took that platform that the good Lord had blessed us with and moved it into a business, and took our championships and the things that we'd won and the accolades that the good Lord had blessed us with throughout my years of calling, and used that as a platform to branch a business from a ministry.
Okay.
And so that's where Dead End Game Calls came from.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Grew up whitetail hunting, turkey hunting's a big thing here. Well, in the Southeast in general, turkey hunting's more of a religion than, just a passion. So, grew up doing that. I was lucky enough to have both my granddads on both sides of the family. So, grew up tagging along with them, probably annoying the crap out of them. But, just learning as much as I could. And, we're just kicking it like that, just trying to teach people the right way to do it. Doing a lot of traveling this spring. So, man, we this time of year for us is special.
Is obsessed with it being as good as humanly possible. And he had bought a new shotgun, and he'd got a couple different boxes of shells, and he was just expressing his frustration. He's like, dude, I can't, neither one of these boxes, it didn't pattern worth of crap. So he's like, I don't know what to do. They're just going to sit on my freaking shelf and collect dust, or I'll give them away. And so we kind of started bouncing some ideas off. I was like, well, let's figure out a way to change that. And within a few minutes, it was kind of, the idea was born. It's like, well, what if we put more than one type of shell in a single box?
Yeah.
I was like, I've never heard of that.
Grind it, make jerky out of it. They'll chunk it up and make kebabs, and those are all fantastic ways to enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but for a good, clean, harvested waterfowl, whether it be duck or goose, I like to treat that breast just like I would a good steak, and that means you're going to maybe tenderize a little bit with the jacquard, like a hand tenderizer. You have the little steel pins go over it. You get you a marinade on there. Seasoning, probably a Hunt Chef seasoning. I would recommend, like tonight, we're going to use my Straight Out of the Bay.
Oh, nice.
Which is my version of like Old Bay meets crab boil, and it goes so good with that waterfowl.
Trust me, when I first got started, I was one of the guys that was in the back of the pack. Because, you're trying to learn the game, you're learning what they expect, because competition calling and turkey hunting is two totally different animals. And because, with turkeys, you can kind of have a few mistakes and you can get away with it. But when you're on stage, you got to have a good solid routine and a good run.
I left, I think, at 1 a.m. the night before we were going to hunt. We drove all night, got there in the morning, kind of got set up. And, Jesse, the guy that came with me, he shot his rifle a little bit to make sure it was still on. He hog hunted with a rifle. I shot my bow to make sure that everything was still good there, because it's still relatively new to me. We hog hunted that night, and I shot 2 hogs. He shot 1. And then the next morning, we went out for turkeys. They had some cell cameras out and had a few spots where they knew that turkeys were kind of in the area. And when we got there was one hammering. And so we set up on that bird and killed him that morning. Stayed around camp, and I actually...
The session, it was relatively quiet. And so, what does that mean? It means that, here in West Virginia, at least, there weren't a lot of laws that were passed related to, an outdoorsman, hunter, fisherman. But what I thought we might do, which is a little bit sort of maybe more interesting, is what bills got introduced but didn't pass, right? Because sometimes they're good ideas and sometimes they're bad ideas.
Like this weekend, we were running and gunning with decoys as well. Typically what I like to do is, proactively have blinds set up in locations where I know birds frequent, whether that would be roost sites or feeding or strut zone areas. And especially, too, with all my filming equipment, I want to make sure on rainy days that I do have a place to be able to get out of the weather and protect my equipment. But to me, to your comment, I like especially where I can to get into like fields or my Antler King food plots, to try to go into an area where they're going to want to come in and pick. And that's kind of what I end up doing when I harvested my West Virginia bird, was I had been on a run and gun situation on a property, did not have a blind on it, and I got kind of rained out. So
we do some fundraising, and we're working on doing more so we can do more hunts. And basically, our biggest fundraiser over the last 3 years is we have a fully licensed lodge facility under Moose Maine Kids, and through that we get a outfitter's tag for a Maine moose hunt, and we have been raffling that off every year.
Awesome. So you guys getting a good following from that, or?
Yes, we have a really good following for that. Last year was the first year we auctioned it off. Actually, the year before we sold it.
I was pretty convinced. I thought I'd heard it a couple minutes before that, but I wasn't sure. And, I was pretty convinced at that point that, we had maybe a long beard nearby, just somewhere over the edge. I thought he was out in front of us off the edge, but probably a minute passed and Chris alerted me to the fact that he was directly behind me, which I get a kick out of because he told me that. And I can put my finger up to point that direction, like behind me. Just making sure,
Yeah. Well, yeah, right now we're in the heat of our Go Outdoors sales ad. So that goes on all the way past Memorial Day, the 29th. So today is one of the events we have going on is the Kids Weekend. That's the main frame event we have happening here at the store.
Yes.
We got scavenger hunts, outdoor tips. We have free giveaways. And the blow-up archery range. That's kind of our staple.
Yeah, I was going to say the archery range. That thing's cool. You guys have that at the hunt and fishing show as well, too, don't you?
Yeah, we brought it everywhere. It's a pack and go inflatable that we can take, and people just love it. So we set it up. And
months after that, it's pretty extensive to be a captain. I mean, you got to get U.S. Coast Guard approved. You have to take a course. You have to pass some tests. So we did that, and about 9 months later, we were U.S. Coast Guard captains. I said, okay, now what are we going to do with it? He says, well, I'm going to go make some phone calls and get some more experience. And he did. And he started working with this one guy and worked, a year and learned some more, even though we kind of knew a lot because we just been doing it for so long. And then he kind of said one day, he goes, I'm not coming home. That was about, 4 or 5 years ago, Chris, and he hasn't been home since. So,
wow.
So I guess now this is his third year. So about 3 years ago, he started his own business, Coastal Marsh Adventures, and he's lucky enough to hire me. So when he gets busy,
So I've never actually had Lyme disease. Explain to us how it made you feel, and I guess you was pretty close hunting there with Benjamin. You guys were sitting on each other's laps or something since both of y'all got it.
Hey, well, there's only one tree big enough to hide you. You both got to get up against it.
There you go. Yep. Especially big old West Virginia boys.
We were sitting there calling to these gobblers coming in, and he's literally sitting beside me pulling ticks off of me as we're calling these turkeys in.
Oh, my goodness.
I have a feeling that's what he's down with right now. But, that Lyme disease is no joke. A lot of real tight muscle soreness, joint pain, absolutely zero energy.
Yeah.
And then I get to turkey season, and I know that's some guys' intensity.
But
Oh,
for
yeah.
me, it's my enjoyment. It's the season when I slow down and I get to smile and I get to go out and watch my little 10-year-old girl and my wife, and then I go out for myself a few times and just go out and enjoy the woods with them and some other friends and family. It's just a good time for me.
We're going to be working on doing a live podcast on the boat while fishing with those guys.
Wow.
There you go.
You know
Sounds
what?
awesome.
I would
Dave
love
probably
to
won't make
see.
that one either, though, so it doesn't matter.
I would love to see Dan. I would love to see Dan pulled overboard by a big grouper or something. That'd be great.
See, that's the thing, though, Dave. If you do make that one, I can tell you who's going overboard.
I tell you what, I'd like to see it too because I'd jump in with him to save the fish.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, yeah. Dan, you can't swim too bad.
Give me that, Ron.
You guys, apart from like say, you know, Panama Jack or Coppertone, and
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons is it penetrates.
Yep. So when we originally developed this formula for the military, we were, and you can put an asterisk on this, I think it was closer to being able to be called for the military a 36-hour application.
Oh, wow.
Because of how long it lasts. And again, they're not, they're not hopping in the shower as regularly as kind of other domestic use cases. So it's able to continue to stay effective.
I'm kidding. How the heck we doing, fellas?
Gosh.
Oh, great.
We're doing good.
Listen, I'm so freaking unbelievably American proud of you boys for everything you're doing with this, the podcast and Nature's Voice. And I am so just honored and happy and just tickled pink on the inside to be back on. Man, you guys, I just love what you're doing. Everybody out there listening right now, if you don't know really truly what great people these guys are, like down to earth every day, working their guts out, plus jamming out this kind of content for you all.
Just, coordinating our members. We have a great group of guys that are, willing to do anything to help out. And, they're constantly asking me, hey, can I brush hog this trail, or should we clean up this food plot, or, hey, the gate is rusted, just whatever it is. Just coordinating with those guys and
that's good.
And making sure they've got the tools to help me out.
In my mind, I see it as a very small market.
Yeah.
But apparently there's more people out there than we realize.
Yeah.
I remember reading on one of the forums where one of the older guys had said that these stick tamers are just a little thing. They'll last for about a year, and then people will forget about them. And there's probably been a lot of little products that happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
But here I am 12, 13 years later, and I'm still selling them.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know how.
That's awesome.
People love them.
All right, guys, so we're set up down here with all the wine and all the craft beer. We are a retail location that is allowed to do samplings, which is what we're doing tonight. So we're featuring Country Boy ciders.
Yes.
Our license limits us from beer samplings, but we can do ciders, and Country Boy is dang good at it. So we have 3 of their ciders down here. What we're doing in the store is just focusing on local artisans, local beer, local wine, and honestly wines from all around the world,
Yeah.
as well as beer. I have Brazilian beer, I have Japanese beer.
With Real Deal Outdoors. How you doing, Jamie?
Pretty good yourself.
Man, we're doing awesome, buddy. This is a really good time.
Appreciate you having me on.
First
of all, you drop a pin.
Yep.
The big bucks were.
Yeah.
Tell me a pin where they were.
Yeah. I think that's. I don't think you can hunt there, but I'll check on that and see. They know where they can hang out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but we were talking about Dan, and Jamie here don't even know Dan, but he said, "Man," he was like, "Anybody with that name's got to be an ass."
Look, Dan, I never said that. I promise.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. This episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Outdoor Pro Shop, LLC. Outdoor Pro Shop is a family-owned and operated firearms dealer and sporting goods retailer. They have pay-over-time options, a rewards program, and customer service satisfaction that is unmatched. They might not be the biggest, but they strive to be the best. Contact them today at 240-360-1298 or visit them on the web at www.outdoor-pro-shop.com. That's Outdoor Pro Shop, 240-360-1298.
Man, it's such an honor.
I'm sure.
You know, it really is. It's an honor. It's, you know, it definitely, you know, it takes a village. And I am so fortunate to be able to work not only just in 1010, but at the Pitch and at Ellen's and all of the restaurants. I get to learn every day. I get to rub elbows with some of the best in the business.
Sure.
But I'll tell you, I would have never thought that I would even be in the running. You know,
Right.
You think about the Southeast, Georgia, North
Yeah.
Carolina,
Oh,
South
yeah.
Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, West
Wow.
Virginia. You think about those cities. I mean, Nashville, Charlotte,
Charlotte,
Atlanta,
Nashville. Yep.
Charleston, South Carolina,
Savannah.
Savannah. These
Oh,
are
yeah.
these are restaurants. These are food towns in tourism cities.
Oh,
and
yeah.
to have West Virginia, you know, I think I said it in my acceptance speech. The first time.
Are you having a good time?
Always.
Always?
Yeah.
Good deal, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you made it in.
Yeah.
So tell us what's new with Warhead.
Well, today we're launching the Frenzy Arrow on Whitetail Frenzy's website.
Oh, so that's the big announcement.
Big announcement. Yep. So you can get that arrow. It's 204 Arrow on their website as of today. We've had it on ours, but of course they got a little bigger following than we got.
Yeah. Okay, good deal. So that's now.
So we've got this nice beech here. We trimmed a couple small limbs off of it, as you can see, because I want him to focus on one center point of that limb, which is right here hanging down directly in front of his face. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our favorite preorbital gland. This is one I'm trying out here. Typically, you know, Smokies is one of our favorites, but any preorbital scent, and that's pretty much all I use. I don't put any urine in them. We're just going to find a stick to kick this out with.
Family used to own a marina down there, boat dock and everything, and they sold it years and years ago, but some of my family still goes down every year, and I tag along occasionally. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool deal. So you said the owner of Country Boy Brewing, he's big into the outdoors.
Yeah, DH. Huge outdoorsman, turkey hunter, deer hunter, a little bit everything.
Yeah.
Fisherman, everything.
So do you know the history behind Country Boy Brewing, how it come about?
Yeah. So there was two brothers from Lexington. Basically met up with DH, who ran a restaurant in Lexington, Georgetown area. And then another guy came on that was more of a home brewer, kind of had more of that technical knowledge.
Yeah.
They all kind of have different pieces of the equation.
And here I am thinking, because he never told me that he'd done it a lot. And I'm like, God, that must be easy. No, it's not easy.
15 fish later.
Yes. Yeah. So go ahead and tell us about that.
so I shot that one, and it set up perfect. It was super shallow, and just seen the light and started kind of coming like they want to go deep to the underneath the boat, and I got it before it got too deep. I just aimed low enough because the reflection of the water or whatnot, and I hit it. And he was like, "Man, you got it," and I was like, "Well, yeah." And he said, "All right," and I finished dispatching the fish. You would probably notice something out of place. Deer the same way. Another good thing is if you're in a place that has a lot of bears, West Virginia, then it kind of keeps it out of eyesight of the bears too. They're curious, so you'll have less cameras get tore up. So what I like to do is I take a stick. And typically I like it anywhere between 8 to 12 feet high, depending on the terrain. So I'm just going to dig my stick in. Now Luke mentioned last week in the video there was a secondary trail, right? So typically I like to have it like going down the point or like facing the deer's coming straight to it or straight away from it.
Which I called a hybrid because I put up to seven to 9 layers in the limbs. I made really short bows that accepted really long draw lengths. I was popped up at my first traditional event after selling bows for 5 years out of a big local archery store in Hartford County that was at the time they sold the most Hoyt bows on the East Coast. So I was selling bows out of there and went to a traditional event where there was all the popular bowyers.
Old country boy here in small town Petitcodiac, New Brunswick, Canada.
growing up, my dad didn't hunt, but my grandfather did, my uncle, so I'd go along with them. And then just blessed to grow up in an area where there's lots of woods around and fields to hunt in. And then my friends and I are all very similar, probably why we're friends. So we all hunt and kind of learn from each other and this and that. And drive truck, got a few beef cattle and stuff on the side, and then I run hounds and do the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, they have the state Triple Crown here in West Virginia. You have 3 different legs of shoots. I think this year the first leg, where was the first leg at?
It was at Lumberport, West Virginia.
Lumberport Archery Club.
Okay.
Then second leg was at Huntington Archery Club, and then the third leg was at High Feather Archery in Doddridge County, I believe. Yeah, Doddridge County. Then they add up those total scores through the 3 events to see who comes out on top. So best overall scores through those 3 competitions.
Okay.
In the summer, see kind of how that works. See how the thermals react. Right, take that into consideration and pick out a few trees. So right here, we've got the shoot-offs, right? Tons of leaves behind us, a little bit of daylight, not that big a deal. I'm thinking late season, right? Come November, there's probably not going to be any leaves on that tree. So what I'm thinking about is what's going to break me up. I've got the 2 main shoot-offs. I've got a couple more limbs behind me, but I have that trunk, right? I don't want to get on the side of that and perch myself on the side to where I am against the skylight. So that's definitely a no-go. And you have to think about it from where the deer is going to be. I hope to be shooting at a deer in this mock scrape come November, but that might not be the case.
We got a great customer service team, and during the slow time from usually like January till around June, we got some select agents that do some proactive surveying with our customers. Mm-hmm. We got almost 750,000 customers now, users, over 2 million reveal cameras in the field. So what we do is our customer service team gets out and they send out an email survey, and then they follow it up with a phone call talking to our users. And through that proactive survey, we found that about 62% of the reveal users had at least 1 reveal camera for a security camera, whether it be on a driveway, a boat marina, somewhere their hunting cabin.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm the hardlines manager. That entails being over archery, hunting, shooting. You'll see me in fishing from time to time with fly fishing, marine, all of that. So you may see me working on a bow one day, and you may see me over selling fishing reels the next. You never know. This is day to day. I jump all around the store.
Okay. I hear you, man. So you're doing a lot of stuff here.
Yeah,
involved in a pretty good bit of stuff. So how long you been here?
8 years total.
8 years?
I started part-time and worked my way up.
So this is actually set up for the pre-rut, so we'll come back to this slide a little bit later. So what we're going to do is talk about early season. All right, so I don't hunt here. All right, but we're just going to pretend that I do. So we're just going to add a waypoint, and the big thing that we're going to look for is buck bedding and food close to buck bedding. Everyone always wonders why deer, disappear right going into bow season. They get super frustrated with it, but it's nothing too crazy. That deer, his food sources are just changing, right? Pressure might have something to do with it as well, but typically I've had my cameras out since October 1st, already ahead of the stage on where bucks are going to be, or where I anticipate bucks starting to check scrapes. That's going to be the big theme, is going to be scrapes. So with that being said, we'll dive into food sources and doe bedding. That's super important, obviously.
And I just threw myself into it. I had already had a love for it by that point, but I really threw myself into learning how to do all this, because nothing against those guys. They had their own way of doing things, and they didn't really want to show behind the scenes, stuff to even people who worked there a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But I had to learn how to do it myself. And I ended up leaving there because of a great opportunity. And then after that opportunity ended and it came to the end of its course, I bounced around with a couple other operations and learned a few things through them, but really honed my craft in on my own time, and I call myself self-taught as much as I can.
Get right in with them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Is old Goose's look-alike? Is he in that too? Turkey Creek Productions.
Yep.
Yeah, he's Luke absolutely is. He's Turkey Creek Productions. So we just called him a little bit ago, and he was complaining because we called him whenever he was eating chicken strips for dinner.
Oh, you interrupted his dinner.
He was like, "I'm busy."
A lot of times, unless they're very, very, very fresh, there's not they provide a high stem count normally with a lot of woody browse, and whitetails really like woody browse. And a lot of times those areas will tend to hold a good number of does, some doe family groups here and there, as Caleb has kind of put together here, and how to hunt those in that seeking phase. So, you got, like, let's start here. You got a doe group on the south-facing slope of this clear cut here, and how you would approach that. So, in that first week of November, coming out of the pre-rut into the rut, that's the time that we would probably call.
I mean, you've seen some of the trophies I've been able to harvest, and the success I've been able to have on the water.
Yeah. Recently
too, yeah.
Catching big bass,
especially in August. It's a pain.
I gotta give a shout out to Maya though.
Oh God, here we go.
She got old Dad. Man, he sent me that picture of this bass, and I was like, oh my God, that's like 6 pounds. It was really only like what, 3.5?
Yeah, I think it was about 3.5.
But it was a big bass.
It was a stud for August. I was really impressed.
For August,
really
yeah,
with that,
3.5's big.
And they're starting to, getting their niche, getting their locations.
So, like, this is a big time for you. You're like the Santa of the scents for deer scents and deer urine and all that stuff.
Santa of the scents, man. That's great.
So
you boys are coming to Pennsylvania. Are all three of you coming to Pennsylvania, or just Mike?
Just me.
We start out with 7,000 grains or 1 pound. Chuck it up once, so between our shaft, ferrule, and tip, there's no run out, and then we cut the blades all at the same time, so all of our blades weigh the same, where a lot of these guys are doing MEMS, metal injected, or stamped, and there's variation porosity in those. Ours aren't like that. They're easy to tune. You take your filled tip off, throw ours on, and you can ask our customers. There's no adjusting these. They fly just like your filled tips. And then we say shoot the shoulder. These broadheads are built to go through the bone, and check out our website. We'll show you over and over where we're going through the humerus, through the shoulder blade, all the way through the vitals and out the ball joint or something on the other side.
90, 100 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's a big cat. So y'all cooked it and ate it right there?
No.
At camp?
No.
No,
not at camp. No, the next day is when it gets good.
I just figured you made a big weenie stick and hung it out there.
No, we ended up
made it like a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
Hibachi.
It was very hard getting over what I was eating. So
it's the same thing here, and you're gonna almost hunt them like you would the early season. It's gonna be pretty streamlined. Kind of try and find where that buck's bedding, or remember, the direction he came from. A lot of guys will hunt all through the season, have history with a buck that showed up in the rut, and then the deer just disappears. If that happens, the first place I check is where was he in the summer. And I find that is extremely, extremely advantageous to me, because he goes back to that summer habitat, and it's typically close to a food source, close to his bed, where he feels safe. He's been shot at with bows and guns for the past 3 months. He's just trying to survive, and he's trying to pack on weight. However,
all my fans are wanting me to ask you this. Have you had any encounters?
Hold up. What fans do you have, Dave?
Dan.
Let him have his little minute.
Come on, Dan.
Okay, I'll give it to him.
Have you ever had any encounters or seen Bigfoot?
Oh! Yes! I knew it was coming somewhere.
Yep.
You're under oath.
I don't know if we should say.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
all right, ladies, come on, let's hear it.
He took you dancing, didn't he?
That's pretty dead on.
That was. Oh my goodness. So Sean, how you been doing, buddy?
Well, I've been busy.
Sounds like it.
It's been a good start to the 2024 tracking season. That's for sure.
I hear you, man.
Yeah, we've started in early September in Maryland and Kentucky, and we've just been blasting along ever since. It really hasn't slowed down much. And
it's a nice little 7-acre piece, but it's that was deer camp. That's deer camp, turkey camp. And, again, very fortunate enough to get up there anytime we could. My dad, my grandpa, my brother, family, friends, whatever it may be. So
sure,
it's I definitely can encourage that if anybody ever has a chance and they're fortunate enough. Doesn't matter how big the property is, just any piece of woods or property you could kind of call home base for a weekend or a long weekend and just share the journey with everybody. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got when I was
that'll drain you if you're not used to it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But so anyway, first day we hadn't really seen anything. What was it? Probably about 10 o'clock, I think, maybe. She looked across the holler and she said, "Daddy, there's a deer." I'm looking, I don't see nothing. So I get up to get in where she's looking from, and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, nope, that's a deer." So I grabbed the rifle. I didn't have my binoculars at the time. I just grabbed it to look through the scope, and I said, "Oh, it's a buck." And normally I take.
And that was last year. Tigger recovered 8 last year of 13 as a puppy before the age of 1. And this year, Tigger has recovered 38 of the 39 deer that I've tracked.
Wow.
And he's not quite 2 yet.
That's impressive. He's got a good dog there.
Yeah, Reese is a great guy. He runs the Holler Boys Outdoors YouTube channel. Check that out.
Oh, okay.
We hope to soon put a thumbnail or whatever you might call it on our Blood Trails TV for Reese because he promotes us on his channel, and therefore we're going to show good faith, and we're going to.
We went in there, and he wanted to buy something because he was elk hunting that fall, and I just realized I still had all my guns and my bow and everything. And he's like, "Why don't you go elk hunting with us?" And I was like, "Dude, I haven't elk hunted since I was in like my early 20s, and at this point I was almost 30." And it kind of just completely sparked everything again. I went and ended up, actually that day I ended up buying all new camo, a new bow, everything, got outfitted. And within the next month or two, I was elk hunting with them in Eastern Oregon. And that kind of led into one thing. After that season was up, I was unsuccessful.
Voice for radio, but not the greatest, but the face, man, it just, I feel bad for people having to look at me.
So I've actually never been to this Natives fly shop, but they've got a ton of stuff at their fly shop.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, where is that?
And they do guides. It's in Whitehall, West Virginia. I don't even know where Whitehall is.
Yeah, that's like going to Morgantown. Just above.
We've sent stuff there before.
It's just past Weston. Right, Fairmont.
Oh, you burnt these days.
In fact, we just moved to a new fly shop this year back in June, and I completely remodeled that building. And now my old shop, which was on Fairmont Avenue, I actually started on that today, remodeling as an Airbnb apartment. So
okay, cool.
Nice. Yeah, so the construction never ends. Trying to juggle that, run the shop. The shop has so many cylinders and facets to it now too. It's a lot, but very little sleep, especially with the newborn. But it's all good stuff, man.
Do you want the true Western hunt experience? Book your hunt of a lifetime today with Highland Outfitters, LLC. Located in Highland, Wyoming, 50 miles west of Casper. Their location in central Wyoming gives you access to some of the best hunting areas in the state. Highland specializes in archery hunts for elk and antelope. Their operations include Wyoming, Texas, and Africa. Highland Outfitters employs some of the finest guides in the business. All guides are licensed by the Wyoming Board of Professional Outfitters and Guides. No matter what the species you decide to hunt, you can count on your guide giving you 110% of being the true professional guide from start to finish. Book your hunt today at 307-797-3311 or 307-797-3312. Visit them on the web at HighlandOutfitters.com. With Highland Outfitters, you will get the true Western adventure.